Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hidden Why podcast, episode 1118. I'm your host, Lee Martinuzzi, and today I'm really excited to be presenting this incredible woman, Tanja Leigh. She's an Australian-based and award-winning leadership and mindset specialist. She spent over 35 years empowering individuals and businesses to unlock their full potential. Really, the message I got from this interview today, beautiful conversation. We talked for a bit over an hour. We could have talked for a lot longer, I'm sure. We talked about meditation, self-reflection, a value-driven life. And really, I guess what stuck with me was this idea that we need to create more space, more time for thought, for reflection, for that inner work that might sound selfish, but is so important if you want to live a fulfilled life. We talk about going from a human doing to a human being. A rich conversation, guys. I really hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. Make sure your comments are heard and comment on these episodes. You can reach out to me directly through the Hidden Why podcast website at thehiddenwhy.com. Enjoy this one with Tanja Lee, and we'll talk at the other end. Hey Tanja, welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here today.
Thank you, Lee. Great to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation.
We're not too far away from each other. I mean, it's Australia, but you're in Australia. And that's not common to have an Australian guest on the show.
I know you've got a big United States audience, which is fantastic. So g'day to everyone in the US of A.
G'day.
I went there for the first time this year. This year is the time we're recording this being 2024. So it was an awesome experience.
Where'd you go?
I went to Dallas, Washington, and Denver. I didn't see a lot of outside of hotels because I was deep diving into the work of one of my mentors, Dr. Joe Dispenza. But I did get to go and do a couple of days out in Colorado in the wilderness and had the most amazing experience. But awesome people. Oh, and New York. I went to New York as well.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that was fun. The Chelsea markets in New York, that was awesome. I had the best couple of days there. So g'day to everyone listening from Chelsea Market.
Chelsea Market. So a bit of an explorer. You've done a heck of a lot of things, like looking at, your certificates and your experiences. You've been over the world in a lot of places, but first time to the States. What was your perception there? Like, what was your feeling going there, and then what changed after you visited?
I really didn't have any expectations. The States, I'd always, for whatever reason, wanted to see New York and more so, Lee, feel New York because, you see it in the movies or on shows and it feels like all this dynamic energy. And so I was very curious to see what that was like. And look, I live in country Victoria, so I'm on 5 acres of bush. And, our neighbours are kangaroos and deer and wombats and snakes and all those things. So being in Times Square was quite an experience in comparison to where I live. But I found the people really dynamic and electric and explorative. And the pace was a lot different, as you can imagine, a lot more people. But I had a really beautiful time. But as I said, I was away for 33 days. For about 30 days of those 33 days, I was indoors, deep diving into quantum physics and meditation. So, I didn't actually, it wasn't a holiday. It was a study trip.
Yeah.
So what was different
with Joe
was me.
Dispenza, right? So you've got the, I did see something there that you've just received the certification with.
I'm in the process. I'm in the final stages of being certified to have the honor of teaching his 2-day training called Change Your Mind, Create New Results, which is really supporting people to get out of sympathetic dominance and in fight, flight, freeze, which most people are. About 70% of humanity is living in a state of stress and survival, Lee, and that is having significant impacts on their immunity and their ability to really consciously create a life they love. Most people are, in the impacts of things that have happened to them in the past. And it really does significantly impact the quality of their health, their emotional state, their mental clarity, and more so, and I think you'll resonate with this, their fulfillment of their soul. where we are often stuck in the realm of being a human doing rather than a human being. And so, this work really gives people the information that is neuroscientifically based to teach them how to change and go from being victims of circumstance to creators of their reality. And I get the goosies every time I think about it or talk about it. So yeah, I'm in the final stages. As we're recording this, I'm in the final stages of being certified, something I've been working on for the last 12 months. And so I'll be able to bring that work to the world and support people to create conscious change in their life.
Well, there can't be too many Aussie folk that have done that with Joe Dispenza, right? And
I think there's
most
about
people listening
3.
to this would be familiar with it. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Bring it to Australia.
Yeah,
I actually saw you speak, and I think you spoke on some of those topics recently, and it blew my mind. Some of the statistics and data you brought, scientific data, really about the mind and the unconscious and consciousness, and it always fascinates me how we operate. And I am a man of good self-awareness. I wouldn't say great, but that's something that I have to continually work on and practice on, like yourself, no doubt, with meditation and things like that. So that's why we've got you on the show. So I'm really excited to explore this topic, and I want to jump straight in there because I think you said 70% of the world are living in stress and fear. And
yes, human beings spend 70% of their time in a state of stress and survival. And so, the stress response is useful. We need it to survive. Back in the days where the T-Rex was scratching outside the cave, you needed to either try and fight the T-Rex, run away from it, or get cave mama and cave cubs and head into the cave. So it's there to help us survive. But often when we stay in that state of stress, Lee, it's as Dr. Joe says, that imbalance becomes the new balance, and people just don't realize they're operating in a state of sympathetic dominance, meaning out of balance, out of order, out of homeostasis, which just expends a huge and enormous amount of energy. And then we don't have that energy for rest, digest, heal, repair, let alone to create. And so most people are trying to create the fulfillment of their dreams and their desires and their innovations and inspirations on an empty tank. And it's just, you can't do it. And you can't create when you're in a state of survival because it's not a time to create. It is a time to fight, run, or hide. So it's something I'm deeply interested in because I know from being a peak performance coach for many decades, you and I know, Lee, that we have dreams and hopes and ambitions in our heart that don't get to see the light of day when we're busy being busy. Yeah. And I'm curious around why do some people fly and others flop when it comes to fulfilling their potential. Yeah. And so, when we understand the way our neurology and biology works, we can make better choices and act and behave in ways that give us access to fulfill our potential.
Yeah. So you've been coaching people for quite a time now, but you've also got a background in management, I believe, in retail. Yes. Is that right?
Yeah. I've spent 35 years, Lee, working across the corporate, private, retail, government sector. I started work at 11. At the time we're recording this, I'm 52 years young. And, I've always wanted to work. I didn't really like school much. I was bullied a lot at school, so it didn't feel like a safe space to learn and create. And I wanted to get out, inverted commas, in the real world. And so, I started working at 11. I had at least 3 part-time jobs when I went through school. And my first, kind of career was 10 years of store management in Maya, which is a big department store here in Australia. Yeah. And that taught me a lot. At a very young age, I was leading a $97 million business and 400 staff. And so it taught me a lot about people and business, which I love. I actually love business. Yeah.
You've got sort of both worlds going on here, with spiritual sort of side of you, and then this business sort of, and both need to come together in this day and age. And I think that's the struggle that we have because I'm very business, and I know a lot of the times I'm so business, but I forget the heart and I forget the spirit, and I burn out,
And you're not alone, Lee. Most people do. And in full transparency, Lee, I think I consciously kept those worlds separate. I didn't think I could combine them. I didn't think that it would be palatable, but definitely, I've had most of my life in that business world, whether it be department store management, or I spent a decent amount of time as an event producer for the city of Melbourne and produced 111 events for our city. And so, I've done some pretty great and big things. And then the flip side of that, is I've had a lot of spiritual experiences, which is a very, very broad term, and explored many and very different modalities of Reiki or energy healing, or I wouldn't put this in the spiritual category, but I'm a master NLP practitioner and trainer. NLP, for those that are listening and aren't familiar, is neuro-linguistic programming. It's the study of how our thoughts and beliefs influence our language and our actions, and therefore results we produce. And yeah, Leah, I think I kept those two worlds separately for a lot of time, and that's kind of creating duality within. I believe that business is an opportunity for us to raise consciousness, and the more heart, as you put it beautifully, the more heart and soul we can bring to what is often a very mental environment, creates greater coherence and greater platforms to create from. And business is a creation.
Have you always been in both worlds? Like, have you always had that spiritual side to you from, the age of 11 when you decided to start working?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That my spiritual awakening happened at 16 when I astral traveled for the first time. And I was like, wow, okay, there is a lot more to this place we're in than I knew. And that generated this deep level of curiosity to explore the mystical, explore, the quantum realities, explore stuff outside of what we know as our third dimensional reality. So I did a deep dive, and still do deep dive in that realm.
What was that experience at 16? How did you astral travel?
It was interesting, Lee. I couldn't sleep one night, and I was lying in bed. We were living in Emerald, which is another beautiful little town here in Victoria, Australia. And my mum was a nurse, and I couldn't sleep. And I remembered she had these tapes, for those that are old enough to remember, cassettes. And so I went upstairs. My dad had built a little bungalow for me down under the house. And I went upstairs and grabbed this relaxation tape. I'd never used it before. I put it on, and it was just kind of talking through deep relaxation process of the physical body. And then I just became aware that I experienced my spirit, my ethereal body leaving my physical body. So my conscious awareness was aware of my physical body in bed. My spirit left the bungalow, kind of floated up and sat on the veranda of our property. We had a German Shepherd, and I was sitting there. It must have been, I don't even know, I wasn't conscious of time, but I was sitting there, and I could literally, like, the veil of realities had dissipated, and I could feel everything. I could feel the energy of the leaves and the trees and the wood and our dog and the moon and the stars. It was just this expanded awareness. And I was receiving a lot more information than I would normally. Like, it was just an incredible experience. And then I could sense my spirit coming back down into my physical body. But Lee, what happened was my spirit came into my feet and my legs and my body, but hovered over my head. Then my consciousness went back into my body, and I could not move. I couldn't speak, and I started to panic. So I was in multiple realities at once. And because this was foreign and unfamiliar, I got scared. My spirit eventually came back into my physical being, and I sat up and just burst into tears. I didn't know what just happened to me. I didn't know what it meant. But then I started to learn and study and learn, there's things called astral traveling. Yeah. And that opened a door for me to learn about other realities than when we're aware of.
Well, it's interesting how you've gone through corporate with that spiritual side in mind, and you've probably seen it change nowadays, because I feel I've had a similar journey. I started work at a very young age, hospitality, retail, management, now real estate. And the spiritual side of things, it was always sort of there in the background, but because the logical brains had to go out there and work and study and that,
Of
I
course.
never really followed it, too much. And I actually then subdued it. I put it down underground and went
Yeah.
into corporate. So it was really sad. But I feel like it's a bit more commonplace now in the world.
I think so. And I think language really matters, Lee. You can say the word spiritual, and to some people that equals woo woo. And
Yeah,
it's like, what does that mean? Spiritual? Is it you have to wear crushed velvet and walk around with a staff with a crystal and
that'd
burn
be cool.
incense? Right. And different strokes for different folks. And so I think language really matters.
Yeah,
And so, there is a distinction between spiritual and religious. I personally am not a religious person. I would say I'm more of a spiritual person. And I think the beauty of being a human being in this day and age is there is so much choice and there is so much language to explain, multiple realities. For me, spirituality is just feel a sense that I am part of something greater. And that is what I experienced, Lee, when I was 16. I was like, whoa, I can energetically feel that I am part of something greater. And so, and I think we are energetic beings. And like you said, if we get busy being busy, what tends to happen, we exhaust ourselves and we deplete our electromagnetic field and we become more matter, more particle, less wave, more matter, less frequency. And so it becomes all very tense and intense and about survival and very third dimensional, meaning we find ourselves becoming beings of habit, and life becomes very Groundhog Day, and we're just repeating the past realities rather than creating new futures. And we are energetic beings designed to create and express ourselves out loud. And we can do that through entrepreneurial endeavors.
yeah,
Business is an opportunity to create and bring new realities into existence from nothing, where we can make incredible changes on the planet and solve big problems for communities and bring products into existence that build efficiency and effectiveness and positively change lives. But you do that with a level of consciousness and conscious commerce and emotional intelligence and respect for energy, because it's our energy that creates or deflates. Then
yeah,
you've got a whole different realm to work with. But too many people are exhausting themselves, are just stuck in that wheel of busy, being a human doing, trying to become.
yeah.
And it's an exhausting way to live, and it compromises our immunity, and it's a fast track for disease.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're talking about that sort of stuff, I just immediately think of the sadness in the world. And I don't promote that happiness is like this thing that's just part of it. Like I think suffering and pain is life as well. But I look around the world and I go, there's just so many people that are living in this state of sadness and sorrow and disease and stress and
Yes.
not really living right. And I can relate. And again, I've got a great, like I'm very grateful for my life and what I have. So don't get me wrong here, but I have times where I'm just like, what am I doing? What is this
Yes.
all for? Why aren't I really just being me and really just going out there and living how I want to live? You get that
Yeah.
sometimes, right? Well, I do
Well,
anyway. And
yeah,
I still
yeah.
get it, right?
I appreciate your vulnerability to be able to publicly, share that. You, who has a podcast which has well over 1,000 episodes. For a start, Lee, I want to acknowledge you for that, because the majority of podcasts don't go beyond 25 episodes. Great intention, but it takes a level of consistency to get well over 1,000. And here you are with a podcast that talks all about peak performance and mindset mastery and achieving success. And you're like, yeah, even I, with this curious soul, I'm asking, experience stress and struggle and suffering. And I'm asking, what am I doing? I think the fact that you and me and many people are asking is a good thing. It means we are not going unconscious. You want to be asking, you want to be checking in. And the fact that we're checking in means, to me anyway, that our soul is whispering that there is something more. And perhaps we've got, as we've said a few times, distracted or busy being busy kind of working, and our soul is inviting us to question, are we creating, are we fulfilled, and are we happy? And I think you're bang on, Lee, by saying most people are in a state of pain and suffering. Most people are in a state of stress, and they think that that is a normal way to be. As Tony Robbins says, you know, people do things for one of two reasons. We're either avoiding pain, like the weight, the health is too painful, the financial situation is too painful, the breakdown in my relationship or my divorce is too painful, the fact that I don't see my kids is too painful, the failure of my business or innovation is too painful, so I'm going to change. And that's a motive for change. And so most people ask the questions you're asking because they're living in a state of survival, they're living in a state of stress and pain and suffering. But there is another way to change, and that is, you know, to seek pleasure or to change in a state of joy and inspiration. And as Dr. Joe says, you know, you can change in a state of pain and suffering, or you can change in a state of joy and inspiration. And if you're not being defined by a vision of the future, or you're not currently creating a new reality for yourself, then I assert that all you're left with is the memories of the past and the past failures. And it's not what's happened to us that defines us, Lee. It's what we decide about ourselves as a result. And it's those decisions, those beliefs, those internal judgments that have us unconsciously sabotage ourselves. And then sometimes we're left asking, is this it? And I think it's healthy that we ask those questions.
You've got to. You've got to continually ask those questions. And I know you're a big component of meditation.
Yes.
And you've got, you're a certified transcendental meditator as well, or practitioner.
So yeah, I'm a practitioner of transcendental. You know, as I said, I've spent a few decades now exploring different modalities, and you know, even you can put the word spirituality and meditation in a conversation, and sometimes people think that meditation is for saffron robe wearing monks sitting on a mound of dried chilies drinking teas of a Tibetan yak, and in many cases that is the case. But you know, meditation, the Tibetan translation of meditation is to become familiar with. And so the beautiful thing about meditation is to just take a pause and to stop the madness of life that we can be in, where many of us just are trying to put as much into the day, leaving and our egos like to tick off the to-do list. Don't get me wrong. I love a to-do list. I love to tick it off. That gives me a sense of accomplishment. But many of us are very busy ticking off to-dos, and we haven't made time to be. And meditation provides, and I know you meditate, provides that space to become aware of what are the quality of my thoughts? How are those thoughts influencing the choices I make? And how am I consciously, or more importantly, unconsciously acting and behaving? And therefore, what experiences am I creating, and what feelings am I left with? And if you don't become conscious of who you are, then it's easy to go unconscious. And 80% of people within 30 seconds of waking, what do, Lee? They go to their phone and they start scrolling through all the, you know, often unconscious regurgitation of other people's lives, when that is the prime state of our being, our prime state of our consciousness after we've come out of theta and delta and deep brain waves. You wake up and that's the prime state for innovation. That this is why the entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, like Mark Zuckerberg, don't fill their minds with wondering what to wear and don't have a lot of furniture. Elon Musk lives in a $50,000 house. They don't attach to a lot of materialistic things because they need that space to create. Because everything in our life, every person, every object, everything, and every time and place has a neurological network in our brain. So the more things we have, the more people we know, the more places we go are mapped in our mind. So the less stuff we have and the more time we make space, the more of our intuitive abilities arise, and the voice of our soul can get a little louder to keep us on track of what our heart really wants
Yeah. And I feel like and you probably agree, but I feel like it's escalating. Like there's just this, it's just going so fast now, this rapid advancement into consuming us, taking our
Yes.
attention, taking our energy,
Yeah.
and leaving us with no space, no time for thought, no ability to reflect, no time to create. And like you said, it's pushing us into this realm of dissatisfaction with the life and world and
It's very
humans.
common. It's very common. There's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of, it's fantastic, that we can go to Google in a click of a button, you can get any question answered. And it's fantastic that we can, we've got all of these modalities to connect with loved ones and colleagues and stakeholders around the world with different social media platforms. However, I do think that social media and all this technology is a tool for transformation, and you've got to use it consciously, because when we are filling our day and then we get to the end of the day, I think for many people, social media has become the modern day fire gazing. It's a way that we can't we'll call it death scrolling, or doom scrolling. People just kind of scrolling is a way just to relax the brain waves that have been so active during the day when we've worked. But if you look at, 24 hours, you take 8 hours or 7 hours or 6 or 5 hours away for sleep. Most people work between 8 to 10 to 12 hours, or entrepreneurs often 14 to 16 hours. Take out their time that you've eaten or, run other errands. How much of the time in the day have you stopped to consciously create the future
Yeah.
you're living into, rather than regurgitating the past or just ticking off the to-do list? So I think we are often in a paradigm where we're busy being human doings, not human beings, which is why meditation matters. Like, who are you being? Most people think, what do I need to do
Yeah.
to have the body, have the man, have the woman, have the car, have the money, have the job, have the life, to then be happy? And that's a very exhausted way of operating. It's not how we're designed. That's a survival reality. The creation reality, well, who am I being? And my being determines what I do or don't do, and that influences the life I have or don't have. But we've got it reversed around.
Mm.
And meditation is a beautiful tool to become familiar with. Who are you being? Are your thoughts creating a reality that inspire you, or is it look a lot like the day before? And human beings have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, Lee, and 90% of them are the same regurgitated thoughts
Yeah, I
of
was going to ask you
yesterday.
that. Yeah.
And not only yesterday, but 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago.
So 90% of the thoughts are just from the past.
Correct.
So we're rethinking today.
Correct. And we're unconscious to it.
Can we
And
change that through meditation? And
yeah, well, meditation is to become familiar with, anyone that's meditated. A lot of people, Lee, go, I've tried meditation and it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, tell me more. And they're like, well, I sit still and all that's happening is my mind is going all over the place. I'm like, that's meditation. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, it is to become familiar with where your mind is going. Because our minds, Lee, and for everyone listening, think of it like a garden hose in the backyard on full force, out of control, just watering everything, watering the clothesline, the neighbor's fence, the neighbor's cat, your car, the neighbor's car, the back door, the concrete, the grass, if you have some. It's just out of control.
yeah, I like
Our
this.
minds, our minds are often completely out of control. And then when we hone the hose, when we focus our mind, what do we tend to water, Lee? Well, we tend to water the weeds. We tend to water the things that are our problems, our concerns, our challenges, our issues, and where attention goes, energy flows. Now, of course, in life there are weeds, but then there's this whole other veggie patch, a fertile soil that is waiting for us to plant the seeds of our soul. But we're just so unconscious, watering everywhere. So if we see our mind is like a garden hose on full ball, the work is to hone the hose and become conscious. Are you watering the weeds or are you watering the seeds? And if you're not watering the seeds, it's likely that you've forgotten that your subconscious mind is a beautiful, fertile veggie patch full of soil waiting to cultivate your creations. So meditation is an opportunity to become familiar with where is your focus, where are you watering, and let's not be deluded. There are weeds, and the weeds can be represented by past decisions we've made about ourselves, others, and the world that we think are the truth. And so it's like, okay, let's take a moment. Let's block out the noise. Let's close our eyes. Let's go in within, and let's get familiar with what is going on in my mind, which is my tool to think new things into reality. Yeah. And if I have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day and 90% of them are the same as decades before, what I'm creating is just more of the past rather than the future I desire. And when we get familiar with that, then we can create a better choice.
Right. How are you going to go in a new direction if you're stuck in the thoughts of the past, right?
Correct.
And if you don't give yourself that space and that time to really create that self-awareness, you're just going to be dragged into all the social media, all the channels, busy being at work, ticking off the to-do list.
Yeah.
Never giving yourself that time to change that direction.
That's right. And Lee, the truth is, if we distill it down to a real simple term, again, I keep referencing Dr. Joe, but he's definitely leading the way when it comes to understanding the neurological and biological models for change.
Yeah.
Is, if you're not aware of what you're thinking and how you're acting and how you're feeling, you're going to be living in the past a lot. And a lot of people think, when they try meditation, because their mind is so busy that it doesn't work, or they don't know how to do it. You need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, because knowledge is the precursor to experience. So when you understand meditation is about creating space within the noise, so you can listen to those voices within, and that it is very normal to have a mind that wanders. And the work is not to judge that and not to berate ourselves and crack the whip that it doesn't work or we don't work, is to go, okay, great. And then just bring conscious awareness to, there's my mind wandering, and bring it back. And most of us are stuck in a state of survival, and that state, Lee, is very seductive. Our bodies get addicted to the stress of adrenaline and cortisol, and our bodies get addicted to that rush because it's very alluring, it's very arousing, and it makes us feel alive. But we spend a lot of energy in a state of stress and survival, and there's not enough energy left to sleep. How many people listening to this wake up tired? Yeah, you've slept for 8 hours, but you wake up, you're still tired.
Yeah.
Your digestive system isn't functioning. That's a sign of stress. And, you're either not healing, so wounds or injuries or accidents or falls aren't repairing in a productive time. These are all signs that you're knocked out of homeostasis, meaning you don't have enough energy in your body and being to sleep, to digest, to repair, to heal, because you're spending it fighting against, running away from, or hiding from the modern day T-Rex, which is our texts, which is our emails, which are our colleagues, the external stimulus, the comparison on Instagram.
Finances, mortgages,
all that struggles and stress. And that knocks us out of,
Interesting you say that the body gets addicted to that, because I never really thought about that. You've just highlighted something to me that it's a new thought that, it's so true.
The body gets addicted to it. And the more I study Dr. Joe's work, the more I want to teach it, and which is why I'm going through the certification process, because we don't know what we don't know. And when we're addicted to those chemicals of stress and we're unconscious to it, then we are on a fast track path to disease, because no living organism is designed to stay in emergency mode 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're just not designed that way. We need the stress response to survive, because if our child is running across the road to get the ball in the park and a car's coming, we need an incredible amount of adrenaline and an incredible amount of energy to move quickly to save them. But it's, the interesting piece here, those chemicals of stress, the adrenaline and cortisol that gives us all that energy to survive, it should dissipate from our body within 90 seconds to 2 minutes. But human beings hang out there for decades. And a gazelle in the wilderness who's just munching on grass, and their ears pick up and they sense the presence of a lion, and that lion's chasing them. The gazelle needs to be in a stress state to run, right?
Yeah.
And that's life. But when the lion gets distracted or is like, this gazelle's faster than me, and it kind of slows down and moves on, the difference between the gazelle and us human beings is that gazelle within 2 minutes, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, is back munching grass.
Just chilling.
Back to just chilling. Just back
chilling.
to,
sounds nice, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
You think about the gazelle just munching grass. But you think about the dopamine hits and the other side of it too.
Yeah.
The doom scrolling that's giving us that constant hit of pleasure, or the going out and consuming stuff, and that might be consuming content, consuming other people's dramas, consuming, I don't know, retail spending, whatever.
Yes. Those
like
addictions,
they're
it can be, and really interesting use of words, it's all against us if we let it. And this is the thing, Lee, many of us are unconsciously giving the power to our external environment. What is one of the biggest reasons or excuses we say why we don't pursue the things that we desire? And that is time. I don't have time. But I promise you, if everyone listening today grabbed their phone and checked how much time they spend on social media, spend on their devices, and then they do a time energy audit and look at, okay, well, how much time did I spend sleeping? How much time did I spend working? How much time did I spend on social media? How much time did I spend thinking, worrying, talking, and regurgitating my concerns about things that I cannot control? That is a waste of time. And I don't say that with judgment. I say that with awareness and compassion, because I too have done the same. But when we give the power to time, we then are a victim to time, meaning time has the power. And people say all the time, I hear it all the time as a peak performance coach, I've got to find the time, or I don't have the time. Well, time has the power.
Yeah.
Time has the power. The weather has the power. Your family and friends have the power. Work has the power. You are the creator of your life, and you need to create the time and carve the time. However, you'll only do that when you're conscious of what you value. And if you don't value yourself, and if you haven't made your heart's expression a priority, if you haven't made your dreams and desires important, then you will always meet your musts, which are other people, and your things will be assured. As Tony Robbins says, will always, we say, I should get up early, and I should exercise, and I should eat clean, and I should do my tax, and I should meditate, and I should look after myself, and then we should all over ourselves. And the biggest way to be disempowered, Lee, is to not be congruent with our word. When our video doesn't match our audio and we say what we should do and we don't follow through, we are sending a message to our subconscious mind that we aren't in power, we aren't in alignment with that which we speak. And declaration is where our power is at. I am are the two most important words we will ever say. Whatever follows, we create. So when we believe time has the power, when we believe external circumstances has the power, and when we say, I am not worthy, not good enough, not deserving, too tired, time poor, I don't have enough money, well, we're programming our brain and body to believe whatever we say and create. And most of us are unconscious to it. And that's why meditation matters, coming back to meditation, becoming aware of our internal dialogue and the actions we take and the feelings we create as a result. And not to judge, but just to go, okay, cool, wow, I am using time as a big reason why I don't have the results I want.
And you can become more effective. My coach said to me probably 12 months ago, because I was really seeking balance. And she said, did you ever think that maybe by giving yourself more time, you actually might become more effective
Yes, amen to your
And I was
point.
just like, and I've heard it before, but it just sunk with me, that time. I just needed that.
It's very true. And you know why many people, Lee, don't give themselves the time?
Yeah,
May I ask you a question?
yeah.
Why did you not give yourself the time that you desired or needed?
Because I was so focused on my business, so focusing on, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. If I don't do that, maybe I won't achieve what I want to achieve. I won't have that financial success that I desire.
Yeah. So a great intention. You were focusing your time on building your business for a greater result, for financial freedom or, successful future to maybe create the time in the future for you to have more time for you. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
And I'm sure most people listening are in the same paradigm. And in my experience, Lee, as a coach, many people don't make the time because they see it as a selfish act. And they think that they have to sacrifice the time for themselves to pour into their business, to build more time for their future. And, as your coach said, I like Oprah, like her subscription of time or selfishness, which is full of self, being responsible for being full of yourself, filling yourself up, filling your own cup up first with that which, invigorates you or inspires you. And then you give what spilleth over. You can only grow yourself and your people and your business to the level of consciousness you have at the time. So you can spend all of your time, and everyone listening, spend all of your time in your business. But if you're just spending your time pouring into your business with the same level of consciousness you've had for the last 10 years, your business will only hit a certain plateau of performance because
Right. Makes sense.
you can't think any greater than the past. You can't innovate any higher than who you've been. So to make time for yourself to evolve, to challenge your mind, to build new neurological connections in the brain with new information to make different choices and take different actions, enables you to see opportunities in your business, see opportunities in the marketplace, see problems with your clients that you've never seen before because you've never been that consciousness before.
Never give yourself the time. Yeah.
Because you never give yourself the time, and then we get
Makes
stuck on
sense.
the wheel, and then we get exhausted, and then we go on social media to chillax. But
Yeah.
we've made no time to innovate.
It's intentionality too, looking at the, and I've gone through this cycle many times in my life. I'm sure most people have, but you just start doing this, and you're just loading it up, thinking that these things are all necessary when they're actually not. And if you really look at your vision, where you want to go and where your journey of life really desires to be, and you look at your values, and then you really set that intention every day, not just once a year, but every day, reflect on that, then you can look at those things that you're doing and go, well, hang on, is that really necessary? Can I leave it over there?
100%.
And if you can start doing that, then you start to go, well, now I have more time. Now I have more time to just think.
And you know what? Beautiful, a beautiful summary there, exactly. And I think the key word there is value. And in my experience, Lee, as a peak performance coach, I've had the privilege for a number of decades to go inside the subconscious mind of people and understand what is influencing their thoughts, actions, and feelings, and therefore behaviors and results. And many of us are governed by a limiting belief that we're not good enough, worthy, or deserving. So we operate in a reality or a paradigm where our unconscious value, it's not a conscious value, our unconscious value is to seek validation externally. I've never met a human being who doesn't have a core belief that they're not good enough, whether that's 0.4% or 94%, and that can be expressed in many and varied ways in between. So we try to seek validation by people pleasing, by working hard, by overachieving, by getting all the certification. But isn't it interesting? And what I've learned over the years is how many of us have got the award, have got the certificates, have hit the $1 million or the $5 million or the $250,000. And the party popper of experience never popped because we didn't feel any different. We got the goal, we ran the marathon, we got the job or the car or the house or the mortgage or the business or the award or the number one, and it didn't shift our internal state. And this is where we are just burning ourselves into the ground to become, because what's driving the behavior is a limiting belief that is unconscious, that we're not good enough, worthy, or deserving. So we're working hard to get the validation. And this is the realm of what do I need to do to have the things to then become? And that is a fast track for exhaustion. We need to flip the script to who am I being? And my being will then influence the actions I take, which will influence what I have. And you said before, happiness, at the beginning of this conversation, it's like, people are seeking happiness, and it is, I believe it is really what people are seeking. And the key to happiness is progress. We want to progress, but too many of us are seeking happiness by unconsciously seeking validation. And when you become aware of what's driving your drive, when you become conscious of the unconscious, when you become aware of why you are the mouse in the wheel, busy being busy, and what's driving that drive, then you can make a different choice. And that is a space of the unknown, and it can be scary for people because they think, well, hang on, if I don't have an external motive, then I'm not going to be motivated to act. But there is a difference between motivation and inspiration.
I love that be do have model. I think it's just fantastic. And I've lost it, and I've grabbed it back now. And if you look at your values and really can wake up every day and live into your values, yes, we have to work. Yes, we have to, buy food and all that sort of stuff. We've got to live in society. But there's still a way to live into your values regardless of your occupation, your vocation right now.
That's right.
And I think the more you can do that, the greater it is you're going to move towards a better life, rather than doing the opposite, where you're just going out there working and hating life and not living into any of your values.
We don't take all that stuff with us when we go. And I think one of the biggest missings for humanity, Lee, is, in my experience professionally and personally, and my own experience for myself, I didn't value myself. People don't value themselves. We are taught that being selfish is a bad thing. But if we can flip the perception of selfish and valuing ourselves and loving ourselves and carving time to pour into ourselves as a good thing, because you cannot give what you don't have. Yeah. And if you are exhausting yourself to seek validation externally, and you don't become conscious of that, you're significantly draining your energy. You're definitely not going to feel happiness and fulfillment. And there is evidence and research to prove that it's a massive compromise to our immunity and therefore our longevity. And you're on a fast track for disease. And our body is a very, very, very clever tool. Consider our body is always giving us the warning lights on the dashboard of life. Yeah, it's flashing to us to say, Lee, you need to put some oil in. Yeah. And so often we just kind of operate on top of our body's cues, and we don't change until we get the phone call with the bad news, or the diagnosis that it's too late, or the divorce because our partner does not know our name, or the disconnection from our kids because we've been so busy trying to build a life through work that we forgot to be present in the gift of what is. And my invitation for everyone listening, and this is something I practice what I preach, Lee, every single day, is if we can stop the madness and the rushing and the seeking validation from all the accolades and arriving externally, and get curious about cultivating a sense of healthy relationship with self, and flip the paradigm and the perspective that being selfish is a bad thing, and that we need to and flip the script of selfish is being full of self, not self-aggrandizing, not self-absorbed, not self-important. That's not what the realm I'm speaking of, but that we are responsible for filling up our own cup. And that is a divine practice. And the more we do that, the more centered we are, the more clarity we have, the more we can define our values, Lee, and look at what actually matters to us. And then when we have that clarity, we can make more effective choices and live a more potent, present, fulfilling, healthy life. But that's a whole shift in consciousness and something we're not conditioned to do.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Beautiful conversation. And I feel that there's a lot of people in this spot right now that are living this life where they don't want to be. And I think it takes work and it is scary. But I think people like you that are spreading that message and helping people through coaching is a really good opportunity. And I think once you can really spend that selfish time within and develop that in time, and it may not be tomorrow, but in 10 years, 20 years, who cares? The more you can do of that, the better your life will be, but also the better impact you'll have on others. Because I think right now, because we're all living in this state of stress and fear and lack of energy,
yes,
it's just, it's contagious and it affects other people around you. And that's why you see cultures, if there's one person that really has this negative energy suck, people around them create that, and then whole business, like you see this all the time because you deal with businesses, right?
Yeah. Well, we're organisms. We have an electromagnetic field, and when we are in a state of stress and survival and struggle, you can feel when someone is off. You can, and this is definitely the reality. We are a society living in states of stress and struggle, and the fundamental thing that people want is, everyone that I've ever spoken to, coached or interviewed, they all want the same thing. They want to contribute to others. I've never met a human being that doesn't genuinely want to contribute to others. And you said before, creating impact. Well, consider, as I've said twice already, you cannot give what you don't have. And if you're someone listening to this and you want to be a person of influence and you want to be a person of impact, then you can't do that on an empty tank, because your frequency can be felt. And we can operate inside of being what I call a resentful yes at times, when we overcommit and stretch ourselves too thin. So to be full of self, meaning to pour into yourself first and fill your own cup up and get clear of your values and what you desire, enables you to have the energy, have the resources, have the capacity to step out of pain and suffering and survival and step into a beautiful space of generosity and love, where you can be a greater impact and influence on others. But you can't do that on an empty tank. So my invitation to those listening is, take a moment today to after listening to this, open your schedule and open your diary and have a look at the day and have a look at your week ahead. How much time have you carved just to be still, to do what you love, to go into nature, to read that book, to listen to the Hidden Why podcast that you've had sitting in the back burner for a while, to just take a moment to look at, reflecting on, am I busy being busy, or am I consciously creating? And if I'm creating, am I creating more of the past, or am I creating the future that is calling me to be the greatest expression I've ever known myself to be? And that's likely to be a place of the unknown. And I reckon that would be a great inquiry to be exploring inside of the hidden why.
Great advice, Tanja. Really beautiful conversation. I thank you. Appreciate you. How can people best reach you and connect? Because I'm sure there's a load that want it.
Sure. Well, I'd love that. Thanks for the invitation. Our website is thealchemicway.com. So TheAlchemicWay.com. And I'm very active on Instagram. I haven't been so much the last few weeks doing my certification process, but you can just head to the.alchemic.way. I think I said why before. I'm got the hidden why in my head, so it's thealchemicway.com. But also Tanja Lee on the Alchemic Why, yes, thealchemicway.com, or of course Tanja Lee on LinkedIn. And I'd be very curious to see what percolates for people. And if you want to have a deeper conversation, I'd love to know what stirred from this chat. And I hope people make themselves a greater priority.
Guys, I'll stick the link in the show notes for those two options there to connect with Tanja. So please do. And I mean, Tanja, lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it. I could dive deep into this topic with you, I reckon, for hours, because you've got a lot of knowledge there and wisdom, and how you structure all your words to tell that story is really beautiful too. So thank you for sharing.
I appreciate it, Lee. Well, thank you for creating a platform for us to learn together.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, guys, check it out, thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.
Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope you love what you're hearing. If you like this episode, guys, or any of the episodes that you're listening to here at The Hidden Why, please do me a favor by sharing it. You can share it with your families. You can share it with your loved ones. You can do that by using your favorite social media channels, using the icons on the platform that you're listening to The Hidden Why podcast. Also, guys, if you're a fan of the show, please connect with me. Connect with me at thehiddenwhy.com. I love to hear from you. I love to converse with the people that listen to this show to find out what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and perhaps if they have any questions or feedback for the show as well. You can stay up to date with all that I'm releasing here, guys. I do a solo show every Monday, a 3-minute thought every Thursday. I do 2 interviews a week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a book review every Friday. You can stay up to date with all that by subscribing to my newsletter at thehiddenwhy.com. Just enter your email address there, and also subscribing to the podcast on the platform that you choose to listen to your podcasts. You can also support the show, guys, by using the Amazon links at thehiddenwhy.com. So if you like books, you can get all the books that I review there, and anything else really that you like to purchase through Amazon. So use that link, it helps support the show. And we've also got a deal with Audible, guys. Audible is a fantastic way to listen to all your favorite books. We've got a deal with them so you can get 2 free books when you subscribe subscribe to a 30-day free trial. So check that out again at thehiddenwhy.com. Guys, that's it from me. You know what to do. Go out there, breathe more passion into every single moment. Do everything with greater purpose, and in doing so you will discover your hidden why. This is The Hidden Why. My name is Leigh. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.